The morning sun barely penetrated the tinted windows of my corner office at Cooper Enterprises. I am Trinity Cooper, and my life revolves around quarterly reports and hostile takeovers. My assistant knocked twice, entering with another stack of papers. Requiring my signature, the board meeting starts in 10 minutes. Miss Cooper, I dismissed her with a wave, my thoughts drifting to the three. Missed calls from Mother, the woman's persistence about my personal life rivaled her dedication to her garden. Club the phone buzzed again, her name flashing on screen. Trinity, darling. Have you considered meeting James Hill, Mother? I'm running a company, not a dating service. He's the CEO of Hill Industries. Brilliant man, recently widowed. I pinched the bridge of my nose, feeling a headache. Brewing the board meeting droned on numbers and projections. Blurring together, my phone vibrated with another message from Mother, this time with James Hill's photo attached, admittedly handsome, but my interest remained. Firmly at 0 later that evening, Mother ambushed me at my penthouse. She breezed past security with her usual flair. Brandishing a bottle of wine and dinner reservations, you work too hard, dear. When's the last time you relaxed running a fortune? 500 company isn't a part-time job, which is precisely why you need balance. She sipped her wine, studying me over the rim. The animal shelter downtown needs volunteers. It might help with stress. I nearly laughed. You want me to clean cages? James mentioned. They're doing wonderful work there, of course. Another setup, but something in her expression made me pause. The shelter was close to my office, and my therapist had suggested finding outlets beyond work. Fine, one visit Mother's triumph sparkled brighter than her designer earrings. She launched into stories about James Hill's charitable work, his business acumen, his perfect manners. I half listened, watching. City lights twinkle beyond my window. That night, alone in my bedroom, I scrolled through endless emails. The company merger in Singapore needed attention. The London office reported delays. My calendar screamed commitments, each hour blocked imperfect. 15-minute increments, damn it all, I muttered, closing my laptop. Mother's words echoed balance. As if life could be that simple, I built this empire from ground up, transformed Cooper Enterprises from a regional player to a global force. Romance, relationships, they were luxuries I couldn't afford. Tomorrow would bring another day of decisions. Deals and power plays, but perhaps, just perhaps, I'd take that detour to the animal shelter, not for Mother's matchmaking schemes, but for myself. The city hummed below, a constant reminder of the world I commanded, yet something felt missing, a void that neither acquisitions nor achievements could fill. Sleep eluded me as I pondered Mother's persistent meddling and this mysterious James Hill. Little did I know fate had its own plans, far different from Mother's carefully orchestrated introductions. The animal shelter would indeed change my life, but not in any way anyone could have predicted the animal shelter looked nothing like I expected. Instead of chaos and noise, I found myself in a surprisingly modern facility. The autumn breeze carried the scent of fresh paint and cleaning supplies. A young woman knelt before a cage, her brunette hair falling in gentle waves as she tended to an injured retriever Cam. I help you. Her voice was soft but confident when she turned striking green eyes met mine. I'm here to observe. The words felt strange on my tongue. And Layla, she smiled, rising gracefully. First-time visitor, something about her presence made my usual sharp responses fade. She wore simple jeans and a shelter shirt, yet carried herself with natural elegance. Her hands, though, working with animals, showed a manicure that rivaled my own. Trinity Cooper, I offered, expecting the usual recognition. The CEO. Lee's eyes widened slightly. Dad mentioned you might stop by. Dad, James Hill. She gestured toward a photo on the wall, showing her and James at a shelter fundraiser. The revelation hit like a cold shower. This enchanting woman was James Hill's daughter. Mother's matchmaking target had a daughter who looked barely 5 years younger than me. The irony wasn't lost. Layla showed me around, her passion for the animals evident in every word she handled. paperwork with surprising efficiency, coordinating volunteers, and managing medical schedules. Your organizational skills are impressive, I found myself saying, former corporate consultant. I quit to pursue more meaningful work with spent hours discussing shelter operations, her business. Acumen shone through her compassionate exterior when she mentioned the shelter. Struggling finances, my CEO instincts kicked in. You need a proper management system. We need a miracle, she laughed to sound unexpectedly musical. What if I hesitated, an idea forming? What if I offered you a position at Cooper Enterprises, my current? Pies leaving you have the skills, the experience. Lee studied me those green eyes, seemingly reading beyond my professional facade, working for my father's potential friend. The word friend carried weight. We both felt, but didn't acknowledge strictly. Professional, I assured her, ignoring the flutter in my chest. I'll think about it. She turned to comfort a whimpering puppy, her gentle touch revealing volumes about her character. Later, driving home, I couldn't shake thoughts of Lila. Mother called. Eager for updates about the shelter visit, I kept my responses vague, avoiding any mention of James. Hill's daughter. That night, my dreams were filled with green eyes and gentle smiles. The next morning, an email arrived. Miss Cooper, I accept your offer. When do I start? Layla reading those words, I felt both triumph and trepidation. I've gained an exceptional PA, but something told me this arrangement would complicate everything. Mother's matchmaking schemes suddenly seemed like the of my worries. The autumn wind rattled my office windows, carrying the promise of change. I had no idea how profoundly my life would transform, all because of one impulsive visit to an animal shelter. Layla transformed my office. Within weeks, files appeared magically. Organized meetings ran smoother, and even the coffee tasted better. Her presence brought an unexpected warmth to the cold corporate environment I'd cultivated for years. The Singapore merger documents are ready, she announced one morning, placing a perfectly arranged folder on my desk. I caught a hint of her perfume, subtle and fresh like spring rain. You revised the entire proposal. The original had inconsistencies. I hope you don't mind. Her revisions were brilliant. She'd spotted details my entire legal team had missed each day. She revealed new layers of competence that both impressed and unsettled me. The office whispers started gradually. My reputation for being an ace queen began to thaw. People noticed how I smiled more, how my harsh edges softened when Leia entered the room. You seem different lately, Mother observed during our weekly dinner, more relaxed. I stirred my wine, avoiding her knowing gaze. Good. Help is hard to find. James mentioned his daughter took a new position, didn't say where. The pointed comment hung between us. I changed the subject, but Mother's shrewd eyes missed nothing. Late one night, as the city lights twinkled beyond my office windows, Layla and I worked on the London project. The hours blurred together, takeout containers littering the conference table. You have sauce on your cheek, she said softly. Before I could react, her thumb brushed the corner of my mouth. Time stopped. Her touch lingered a fraction too long, sending electricity through my skin. I should go, she whispered. But neither of us moved. The moment shattered when security called about a late delivery. We jumped apart, professional masks sliding back into place, but something had shifted like a key turning in a lock we hadn't known existed. Days passed in a dance of careful distances and accidental touches. Every brush of hands exchanging documents, every shared glance across meeting rooms built tension. Like a slowly tightening wire, the board reports need final approval, Lila said one evening, her voice husky with exhaustion. Stay, please. The word escaped before I could stop it. We worked past midnight, shoulders touching, as we reviewed endless spreadsheets. The office felt different after hours, intimate in ways I'd never noticed before. Why did you really leave consulting? I asked. Lee's fingers paused over her laptop. I was tired of pretending what that success meant, following someone else's path. The words hit close to home. How long had I been following my own predetermined? Rude as she gathered her things to leave, our eyes met in the dim light. Something unspoken passed between us, dangerous and thrilling. Trinity, she said my name soft on her lips. We can't, I whispered, though I wasn't sure what I was denying the elevator. Dinged breaking the spell, she left the scent of her perfume, lingering like a ghost alone in my office. I stared at the city below the professional bounder. I'd built so carefully where crumbling every interaction with Isla felt like walking a tight. RPP thrilling and terrifying in equal measure. My phone buzzed with a message from Mother about another dinner with James. The irony of falling for his daughter instead wasn't lost on me, but falling wasn't a word I was ready to acknowledge not. Yet the night stretched ahead, filled with thoughts of green eyes and forbidden possibilities. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new moments of temptation. The question wasn't if something would break, but when the office gossip machine worked. Over time, my executive assistant caught whispers in the break room about how the infamous Trinity Cooper had gone soft. Even the board members noticed exchanging meaningful glances during meetings when Lila presented reports with her characteristic. Grace, did you see how the CEO actually smiled today? They spend more time alone than with the entire management team. I pretended not to hear, but each comment twisted something inside me. Layla seemed unaffected, maintaining perfect professionalism, while somehow making our shared lunches feel like stolen moments. You haven't touched your salad, she observed one afternoon in my office, thinking about the quarterly projections. Liar, she smiled, that knowing look in her eyes that made my chest tight. Our lunch breaks had become sacred. We'd close the office door, sharing meals and conversations that strayed far from business. She told me about growing up with James, about her mother's early death, about choosing her own path despite family expectations. Dad still thinks I'll return to consulting, she said, picking at her sandwich. Do you want to? I'm exactly where I want to be. The weight of her words hung in the air. Between us every day, the careful distance we maintained grew thinner, more fragile. Then came the rainstorm. A typical fall evening turned savage with winds that rattled the buildings. Windows most employees had left early, but Lila stayed, helping me prepare for tomorrow's board meeting. The parking garage will be flooded, she said, watching sheets of rain slash across the windows. I'll have my driver take you home. Your driver left an hour ago. Remember. Thunder crashed outside, making us both jump the office. Lights flickered ominously. We should leave before it gets worse, I suggested. The parking garage was dark, emergency lights casting strange shadows. We ran toward our cars, laughing like teenagers as rain soaked through our expensive suits. Your hair, she giggled, reaching to brush wet strands from my FaceTime. Stopped. Her hand lingered on my cheek, warm despite the cold rain. Lightning flashed, illuminating her face, those green eyes dark with something more than friendship. Trinity, she whispered. I kissed her, or she kissed me in the end. It didn't matter. The storm raged around us as years of careful control shattered. Her soft tasting of rain and possibility, reality, crashed back when car headlights swept through the garage. We jumped apart, breathing hard. I should go, she said, voice shaking. Layla, wait, but she was already in her car, leaving me standing in the rain, fingers touching my lips where hers had been moments before. The next morning, she acted as if nothing had happened. Perfect professional mask in place, she handed me my schedule and coffee, but her hands trembled slightly, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. Messages from Mother piled up, all about James Hill and potential dinner dates. Each one felt like a mockery. Now, how could I sit across from him, numb and knowing? I kissed his daughter in a dark parking garage. The day passed in a blur of meaningful glances and careful avoidance. Every time Lila entered my office, electricity crackled between us. The kiss hung unspoken in every interaction, every shared breath. That evening, I found a note on my desk. After everyone had left, some things are worth the risk. I stood at my window, watching the city lights blur through residual raindrops. The professional boundaries I'd built my career on lay in ruins, but for the first time in years, I felt alive. Tomorrow would bring complications, consequences, and choices, but tonight I allowed myself to remember the taste of rain and revolution on her lips. Mother's voice crackled through my phone speaker, brimming With excitement, Saturday evening, 7 sharp James has reserved the entire rooftop at LeBlanc. I stared at the rain-strewn windows of my office watching Lila through the glass walls as she coordinated with department head's mother and not sure nonsense. James is perfect for you. Hune's already arranged everything perfect, the word echoed hollowly as Layla glanced up, catching my eye with that secret smile. We'd been sharing since the garage. She'd worn her hair down today, soft waves framing her face. In a way that made concentrating on anything else nearly impossible. Trinity, are you listening? Yes. Mother Saturday at 7, the formal dinner announcement spread through the office like wildfire. Trinity Cooper finally succumbing to an arranged match. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, least of all Lee. So she said later, closing my office door dinner with Dad Layla. "I don't." She placed a file on my desk, professional mask firmly in place. "The merger documents need your signature," but her hands shook. Slightly as she turned to leave, I caught her wrist, feeling her pulse race beneath my fingers. Stay please, she did, but remained standing, tension visible in every line of her body. "He talks about you constantly, you know, his perfect match. I never asked for this, neither did I." Her voice cracked slightly, but here we are. The distance between us felt like miles and millimeters. Simultaneously, one step would close it, but the consequences loomed large that evening. Mother arrived at my penthouse with a designer dress for Saturday's dinner. "James is so looking forward to this." I watched her fuss with the dress, remembering Lila's trembling hands, her rain-soaked lips, the weight of unspoken words between us. "His daughter works for me," I said. Suddenly Layla, yes, such a lovely girl." Mother paused though. "I hear she's quite unconventional in her choices." The careful emphasis made my chest tight. "Did she no suspect?" "What do you mean?" "Just that she left a promising career for that animal shelter work." Such a waste, relief and guilt warred in my stomach. "She's excellent at her job, of course." Dear now about Saturday, the week crawled by. Layla maintained perfect profession, ISM, but electricity sparked every time we were alone, each accidental touch felt like fire, each shared glance heavy with unspoken desires. Friday afternoon, she placed a coffee on my desk. "Dad's excited about tomorrow." "Layla, he thinks you'll make him happy." Her voice was soft, dangerous. "Will you?" The question hung between, loaded with meaning. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with Mother's reminder about final dinner arrangements. I should go, Lee whispered, but her eyes said everything her words couldn't. That night, alone in my penthouse, I stared at the designer dress Mother had brought. It represented everything I was supposed to want: a perfect match, a merger of powerful families, my mother's approval, but all I could think about was Layla's smile, her passion for her work, the way she saw through every wall I'd built. The choice loomed before me like a chasm. My phone chimed with a text from James, confirming tomorrow's plans. Moments later, another message appeared from Layla. "Some choices define us forever." The city lights blurred as I pressed my forehead against the cool window glass. Tomorrow would change everything one way or another. The question was, which version of myself would I choose to be? LeBlanc's rooftop sparkled with carefully arranged lights, each table adorned with white roses. James Hill stood as I approached, every inch the successful businessman Mother had described, but all I could see were Lila's eyes and his face. "Trinity, you look stunning," he said, pulling out my chair. The evening progressed exactly as choreographed. Perfect wine, perfect conversation, perfect proposal of a business merger through marriage. James spoke of synergy between our companies, of building a legacy together. Our board members are already excited about the possibilities. He smiled. I nodded mechanically, thinking of Layla's desk sitting empty today. She'd called in sick for the first time since starting work then. James dropped the bomb. "I've already discussed this with Lila. She's thrilled." My wine glass froze halfway to my lips. "She is. She suggested the merger initially. Said you were exactly what our company needs." The betrayal hit like ice water. Had everything became corporate manipulation? I excused myself, heels clicking against marble as I fled to the restroom. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Lee. As I stared at her name, a text appeared. "It's not what you think, meet me." 20 minutes later, I found her waiting in our parking garage, pacing between concrete pillars. "You planned this?" My voice echoed harshly. No, she stepped forward, green eyes bright. "With tears, Dad told me his plans last night. I couldn't stop him. Why should I believe you? Because I love you, damn it." The words exploded between us, shocking us both into silence. She continued softer now. "I've loved you since that first day at the shelter, Lila. I can't watch you marry him. I can't pretend anymore." She crossed the space between us, and suddenly we were kissing, not like the rain-soaked first kiss, but desperate, hungry, full of weeks of denied passion, her hands tangled in my hair. "Ruining Mother's careful styling, we can't," I gasped, even as I pulled her closer. "We already are." The world narrowed to sensation. Her lips on my neck, my hand sliding under her jacket, the concrete pillar cool against my back. Everything I denied myself, everything I'd feared, crystallized into this moment later in my penthouse. "Lila." Trace patterns on my bare shoulder. "What happens now? Mother will be devastated." "The merger." "I don't care about the merger." She propped herself up on one elbow. "Do you want this us?" The city twinkled beyond my windows, 1,000 lights reflecting possibilities. My phone buzzed repeatedly. "Mother." "James, board members all demanding answers about dinner. It will cause chaos, I warned. Since when does Trinity Cooper fear chaos?" She was right. I'd built my empire by taking risks, by trusting my instincts, and every instinct now pointed to her. "The board meeting on Monday," I said slowly. "They're expecting merger announcements, and instead they'll meet my brilliant new chief innovation officer." Her eyes widened. "Trinity, if we're burning bridges, let's make it spectacular." She laughed, the sound pure joy, and pulled me back down to her. Outside, the city hummed with energy, unaware that tomorrow would bring corporate earthquakes and family explosions. But here, in this moment, with Lila's heartbeat against mine, chaos felt like freedom. The carefully constructed walls of my life had crumbled, and in their place something raw and real was growing. Let tomorrow bring its storms. For tonight, we had created our own perfect world, where business mergers meant nothing compared to the merger of two hearts who'd found their missing pieces in the most unexpected places. Monday morning arrived with the subtlety of a hurricane. My phone had exploded with messages from board members demanding explanations about the failed merger dinner Mother had left. 17 voicemails, each more dramatic than the last. The corporate vultures circled before I'd even reached my office. Richard Blake, my longest-serving board member, intercepted me at the elevator care to explain why James Hill is threatening to pull all partnerships. I strode past him, Layla falling into step beside me with perfect professional composure. "Board meeting in 30 minutes, all will be addressed." The whispers followed us down the hallway. Someone had leaked photos to local business blogs. Trinity Cooper and her female PA leaving LeBlanc separately on Saturday night, looking distinctly disheveled. "The Times wants a statement," Layla murmured, tablet in hand. "Let them wait." My office had become a war room. The board gathered, their faces ranging from concern to openly hostile. Mother sat in the corner, her disappointment radiating across the room. "Before we begin," Richard started, "perhaps Miss Davis should step out." "Miss Davis stays." My voice cut through the tension as our new Chief Innovation Officer. "Her presence is required." The bomb dropped. Silence descended, broken only by Mother's sharp intake of breath. "This is inappropriate." Richard sputtered. "Given the rumors." "What rumors?" I met his gaze steadily. "That I chose innovative leadership over an outdated merger." Layla stepped forward, presenting our new corporate strategy with calm precision. Her brilliance shone through every slide, every projection, but the board's eyes kept darting between us, connecting dots they didn't want to acknowledge. Then someone slid their phone across the table. The local business section's headline glared. "Up at Use Cooper Enterprises, CEO's secret romance derails $1 million merger." The accompanying photo showed Lai and me in what appeared to be an intimate moment outside LeBlanc. The garage kiss had been caught by security. Cameras, this is unacceptable. Richard declared the shareholders are seeing record profits under my leadership. I interrupted. Or did you forget last quarter's numbers? Mother finally spoke, her voice tight. Trinity, darling, think about your reputation. I'm thinking about my company's future. I stood commanding the room, and its future lies in innovation, not ancient business models built on arranged marriages. The meeting devolved into chaos threats of confidence votes. Whispers of stock manipulation, suggestions of temporary leave. Through it all, Lila remained steady beside me, her presence both comfort and strength. Hours later, after the dust settled and the board dispersed, we stood at my office window. The media vans had begun gathering below, hungry for scandal, while Lila said softly, "That was interesting." Interesting isn't the word I'd use. She touched my hand briefly, professionally appropriate, yet intimate. No regrets. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. James. Hell's name flashed on screen, followed by Mother's, then Richard's. The empire I built was shaking, foundations cracking. Under the weight of truth and transformation, they'll try to force me out. I said quietly, "They'll try." Lee's voice held steel, but they don't know what we know. And what's that? That sometimes the biggest risks bring the greatest rewards. Outside reporters jostled for position, cameras aimed at our windows. The story would break wide tomorrow, spreading through business circles like wildfire. Trinity Cooper, Ice Queen CE, oh, brought down by love, except they were wrong. I wasn't brought down for the first time in my life. I felt truly powerful, authentically myself. Let them gossip, let them scheme. They'd soon learn that love hadn't weakened me. It had made me unstoppable. Send out the press release. I told Ela it's time to rewrite the rules. She smiled. That brilliant, brave smile that had started this whole beautiful disaster. To tomorrow would bring new battles, but tonight we had truth on our side. And sometimes that's all you need to change the world. The leadership challenge came exactly as predicted. Richard Blake called an emergency board meeting, citing grave concerns about recent management decisions. I watched from my office as board members filed in, their faces carefully neutral. "They're ready for you," Lai said, adjusting my collar with steady hands. "Remember the contingency plan?" She nodded, green eyes fierce with determination. We'd spent nights preparing for this, building our defense. Between stolen kisses and strategic planning, the boardroom felt colder than usual. Richard stood at the head of the table, a thick folder before him. "Miss Cooper, recent events have raised serious questions about your judgment." I remained silent, watching him build his case. Stock fluctuations, media scandal, lost partnership opportunities. Each point delivered like a carefully aimed arrow. Furthermore, your personal relationship with a subordinate, my relationship with our chief innovation officer, is not up for discussion. Richard's smile turned predatory. "The board disagrees. We have here a motion for temporary suspension of your duties." The vote began, hands raised one by one, exactly as we'd anticipated. Mother sat in the observer section, her face a mask of worry. Then Lila entered, carrying a single USB drive. "Before you continue," she said calmly, "you might want to review this." The projector hummed to life. Financial records filled the screen, hidden accounts, suspicious transfers, board members' names linked to competitor companies. "What is this?" Richard's face paled. "Evidence of corporate espionage," I replied. "Fascinating reading, especially the parts about certain board members accepting bribes to tank our stock price." The room erupted. Richard lunged for the USB, but Elila had already sent copies to every major financial authority. "You can't prove anything," he sputtered. "The CK disagrees. They're very interested in your offshore accounts." One by one, the guilty board members left the room, phones already buzzing with calls from their lawyers. Mother sat stunned, watching her social circle implode. "Well played." She finally said, something like pride in her voice. Later that night, Layla and I celebrated in my penthouse. The city sparkled below, unaware of the corporate coup we just thwarted. "How long did you know?" I asked, pouring champagne. "Since my consulting days, I kept records, waiting for the right moment." "You're brilliant, you know that." She smiled, pulling me closer. "I learned from the best." The night turned intimate. passion heightened by victory and vindication. In the darkness, we mapped each other's bodies like familiar territory, finding new ways to express what words couldn't capture mourning. Brought news headlines about board member resignations and SEC investigations, our stock actually rose investors. Apparently preferring honest leadership to hidden corruption, your mother called. Lee mentioned over breakfast she wants to talk about understanding acceptance, her words, not mine. I touched the marks on my neck, evidence of last night's celebration. I think she means it only one way to find out. The elevator dinged, announcing the start of another workday. We straightened our clothes, ready to face whatever challenges awaited. Trinity Layla caught my hand before we stepped out. Yes, I love you. Simple words, but they held the weight of everything we'd fought for, everything we'd risked. I love you too. The doors opened to our newly cleaned house, ready for rebuilding together. We stepped into the future we'd chosen, strong for having chosen it together. The morning sun caught Lee's smile, and I knew with absolute certainty that every battle, every risk had been worth it. We'd faced down corporate titans and family expectations, emerging victorious, not despite our love, but because of it. Let them talk, let them wonder. We had built something revolutionary in business and in love, and we were just getting started. The call from James Hill came on a quiet Sunday morning. Layla and I were enjoying breakfast on my penthouse balcony when her phone lit up with his name. Dad, she answered, her free hand finding mine under the table. I could hear his voice, tight with emotion. We need to talk. All of us an hour later, we sat in his study, the tension thick enough to cut James pace before his desk, looking older than I remembered from our dinner weeks ago. I trusted you, Trinity, both professionally and personally. I never meant to hurt you. James and he turned to Lila, my own daughter. Dad, please, were you ever going to tell me, or did I have to learn about it from country club gossip? The hurt in his voice made Lila flinch. I squeezed her hand, offering silent support. I was afraid. She admitted, afraid of disappointing you again. James stopped pacing, his expression softening slightly again, like when I left consulting, when I chose the animal shelter every time. I didn't fit your perfect plan. The words hung in the air, years of unspoken pain finally finding voice. James sank into his chair, suddenly looking lost. I never meant to make you feel that way, I know. Dad, just like I never meant to fall in love with the woman you wanted to marry. He laughed, then a short surprise. Sound life has a sense of humor, doesn't it? The tension began to crack. James poured drinks, and we really talked for the first time about expectations and dreams, about love and legacy. Your mother would have handled this better, he told Lila. She always knew who you really were. You think she would have? Understood. She would have seen how happy you are. That's all she ever wanted. Mother arrived. Halfway through our conversation, summoned by James's call, she stood in the doorway, taking in the scene. Well, she said, this isn't quite how I plan things. When does life ever follow our plans? James replied, offering her a drink. We talked through the afternoon, 4 people learning to rebuild relationships on new terms, Mother admitted. She'd suspected about Isla and me weeks ago. The way you looked at each other, it reminded me of something I lost long ago. Margaret, James asked softly. Mother nodded, surprising us all. Sometimes the heart chooses paths we never expected. Evening found. Juice lighter, freer old wounds began to heal as new understandings took root. James hugged Lila goodbye, whispering something that made her eyes shine with tears. He said, Hune's proud of me, she told me later as we drove home, for being brave enough to choose my own happiness. That night in the quiet of our bedroom, Lila traced the lines of my face with gentle fingers. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For being worth the risk, for helping me find my courage. I kissed her then, pouring all my love and gratitude into the gesture. Outside the city hummed with life, but our world had narrowed to this moment, this connection. Mother called the next morning, inviting us both to dinner, family dinner. She specified no business talk allowed. As I hung up, Lila wrapped her arms around me from behind. Ready for our new normal with you? Always. The sun streamed through our Windows painting everything in gold, we'd faced our fears, confronted our families, and emerged stronger. Love had transformed us. All teaching us that sometimes the best futures are the ones we never planned for. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight we had peace, understanding in each other. Sometimes that's all the victory you need. The remaining board members struck at dawn. Security guards appeared at my office carrying termination papers and demands for immediate evacuation. "This is a hostile takeover," Richard Blake announced, flanked by lawyers. "The majority shareholders have lost confidence." I sat calmly at my desk, Lila standing beside me with quiet strength. "Interesting timing, Richard, right after our most profitable quarter. Your personal scandals have damaged our reputation." Or perhaps, Lee interjected, "You're afraid of our new transparency initiatives?" Richard's smile turned cold. "Miss Davis, you're also terminated effective immediately." We watched them sweep through the office, changing security codes, confiscating files. Employee gathered in clusters, whispering and watching as we packed our personal items. "They won't win," Layla murmured, her hand brushing mine as we carried boxes to the elevator. She was right. We'd anticipated this move, planned for it during late-night strategy sessions between kisses and caresses. The next morning, while Richard celebrated his victory, Layla revealed our counter strike. She'd spent months documenting everything, every illegal transaction, every buried scandal, every whispered threat. Breaking news: the financial networks blared Cooper Enterprises board members implicated in massive fraud scheme. The evidence was irrefutable. Lila had built a case so solid that the SESEC launched an immediate investigation. Richard's triumph lasted exactly 6 hours before federal agents arrived. "You knew he accused us. They let him out. You planned this." "No, Richard. You did this to yourself." The shareholders called an emergency meeting. Our phones rang constantly with reporters seeking comments, investors demanding explanations. "Ready?" Lee asked as we prepared to enter the meeting. I squeezed her hand. "With you always." The boardroom fell silent as we presented our case. Layla's brilliant analysis showed how the corrupt board members had been slowly bleeding the company, hiding losses through creative accounting. "Miss Cooper's leadership," she concluded, "has been the only thing keeping us profitable despite their sabotage." The shareholders listened, calculated, and voted by sunset. I was reinstated as CEO with a mandate for complete restructuring. "Their first act?" Lee asked as we celebrated. "In my office, appointing the most brilliant chief innovation officer in the business." She laughed, pulling me close. "Nepotism already." "Merit," I corrected. "Always merit." The kiss we shared tasted of victory and vindication. Outside, reporters still camped in the lobby, hungry for scandal. Instead, they got a story of corporate redemption. "Trinity Cooper exposes corruption, saves company." The headlines read. The stock price soared as investors recognized our strength. Later that night, in the quiet of our home, Layla showed me her final surprise. She'd been working with the animal shelter, developing a corporate wellness program involving rescue animals. "Imagine therapy dogs in the office," she explained. "Employees' stress levels drop, productivity rises, and abandoned animals find homes." "Brilliant," I whispered, pulling her closer. "Like everything about you." The city lights twinkled beyond our windows as we celebrated our victory properly, passionately. Each touch, each kiss carried the weight of everything we'd fought for. More brought new challenges, but we faced them together. The boardroom now held allies instead of enemies. Employees smiled, genuinely, no longer afraid of shadow power. "Plays your mother," called Layla, mentioned over breakfast. "She's proud of us, both of us, both of us." The elevator ride to our office felt different. Now no more hiding, no more pretense. We'd built something revolutionary. A company culture based on transparency and innovation, ready to change the world. Lee asked. As the doors opened, I looked at her, this brilliant woman who'd helped me find courage. I didn't know I had. We already have. The morning sun streamed through our windows, illuminating the future we'd fought so hard to create. A future built on love, truth, and the courage to stand together against any storm. 1 year later, Cooper Enterprises had transformed beyond recognition, are innovative. Leadership style made headlines in business journals, and our corporate wellness program became an industry. Standard, the animal therapy program has expanded to 10 more companies. Lai announced, scrolling through her tablet during our morning meeting. I watched her from across the conference table still, amazed by how she'd changed my world. The sunlight caught her hair, reminding me of that first day at the shelter time for a full circle moment. I said suddenly. She looked up curious. What do you mean? That weekend we visited the animal shelter where we first met. The place had grown, partly funded by Cooper Enterprises Charitable Foundation. Remember that scared retriever you were helping? I asked as we walked through the improved facilities. Of course, she found a home with one of our board members. The shelter director greeted us warmly, leading used to a special surprise, a new wing dedicated to corporate partnership programs named after Lila. This is amazing, she whispered, eyes shining with tears, but I wasn't finished. In the same spot where we first met, I dropped to one knee. Layla Davis. You changed everything, my life, my company, my heart, she gasped as I pulled out the ring, elegant and understated. Just like her, will you continue changing my world forever? Yes. She breathed 1,000 times. Yes, Mother and James organized a small commitment ceremony right there at the shelter. The same animals who witnessed our first meeting watched as we exchanged vows. Love finds its own path, Mother said during her speech, squeezing James's hand. They'd grown closer over the years, finding their own unexpected happiness. The corporate world buzzed with the news. This time the headline celebrated. Use Cooper Enterprises power couple ties the knot at animal shelter. Later at our reception, Lila pulled me onto the dance floor. Happy? I asked, holding her close beyond words. Though I still can't believe you proposed at the shelter. Where else? It's where our story began. The evening wound down, guest departing with raised puppies as wedding favors. Lee's idea. Naturally back home we stood on our balcony watching the city we'd helped reshape. What's next? She asked, leaning into me. More innovations, more changes, more love. Sounds perfect. The night air carried the promise of tomorrow, of countless possibilities we'd explore together. We'd face down corporate raiders, family expectations, and societal prejudices. Remember when you said some things are worth the risk? I asked every day. You were right. You were worth every risk. She turned in my arms, green eyes bright with joy. We were worth it, all of it. Inside our phones buzzed with congratulations, meeting requests, and endless demands for attention. But here in this moment, we had everything we needed. The city lights twinkled below, witnesses to our journey from that first rain soaked kiss to this perfect night. We'd built something remarkable in business and in love. I love you, Trinity Cooper. I love you too, Layla Cooper. The future stretched before us, bright with promise. We'd continue breaking barriers, challenging norms, and proving that the greatest innovations often come from following your heart. And it all started with one visit to an animal shelter where a corporate queen found her heart and a passionate soul found her home. Some say business and love don't mix. We prove them wrong sometimes. The best mergers aren't the ones you plan. They're the ones that plan themselves, written in the stars and sealed with a kiss.